Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to build off of all of the concepts we've gone over with fractions so far, and we're going to identify and define what mixed numbers and improper fractions are. So we have three types of fractions. We have proper fractions. These are the fractions that we already have some experience with. Proper fractions are where the numerator is less than the denominator. The second type of fractions we're going to be introduced to today are called improper fractions. And improper fractions can be defined as fractions where the numerator is greater than the denominator. And for our third type, we have mixed numbers. And mixed numbers are kind of a combination of both proper fractions and whole numbers. So let's go through and color code these three types of fractions. And I put some examples in these circles. We're going to go through some more as well. So let's start out with what we're already familiar with. Let's do some examples of proper fractions. So we have 3/4, 1/3, 2/9, 6/10. And for all of these, right, we can clearly see that the numerator is less than the denominator. Now that we've gone over what we already know, let's go out of our comfort zone now and introduce the two other new types of fractions that we don't have experience with. The first one we're going to go through is improper fractions. So examples of this can vary, right? There's a bunch of examples, but the few that I have written here, we can have something like 4/3, we can have 5/2, we could have 8/5, we could have 7/4, right? And so on, any combination. But the key thing is that our numerator is now greater than our denominator, right? We can visibly see that. Now for our third type, we know proper fractions, improper fractions now. Let's go through what mixed numbers are. So like we already defined in the beginning of the video, we know that is the combination of a whole number and a fraction, right? So some examples of this can look like 1.5. It could look like 3 2/7. We could have 4 6/10, and so on, right? These all are a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Now, I did say that there is only three types of fractions, right? But you guys might be wondering, and I would be wondering as well, there is one other type that we haven't covered yet, and I'm going to call it our wild card. So what happens, what type of fraction would it be if our numerator and our denominator are equal, right? We went over what happens if one is greater than the other, if there's a combination of both. But what happens if the numerator and the denominator are equal? Let's first go through some examples of what this would look like, just so we can visually see what Miss Nadia is talking about. So some examples of when the numerator and the denominator are equal, right? We would have the same number top and bottom. So something like 2/2, we could have 10/10, we could even have 6/6, or something as big as 100/100. All of these are the same type of category of our wildcards. And what will happen when our numerator equals our denominator, that fraction actually just reduces to 1. So this is a new rule. Hopefully I'm blowing a few of your guys' minds because they look scarier than they are, but all it is just 1 when the numerator and the denominator are equal. So now that we've gone through and clearly defined and done a few examples of proper fractions, improper fractions, mixed numbers, and our wildcards, I'm going to put together a little bit of a practice for us to go through and make sure that we can identify these different types of fractions. So let's look at our first one. Our numerator is greater than our denominator, right? 12 is greater than 11, so that would be an improper fraction. Number 2, we have 5 and 8 ninths. 5 and 8 ninths, it's a whole number and a fraction, right? A combination of both, so that would be a mixed number. For our third one, we have 1/7. That is what we were already familiar with and working with in the past, right? That is our proper fraction. Then we have 7/3. Again, our numerator is greater than our denominator, so that would be a improper fraction. For number 5, we have 6/6. 6/6, it's the same number for the numerator and the denominator, right? So that would be our wild card. And for our wild card, let's just go through and solve what that would be. 6/6 always gives us 1, right? And for number 6, we have 3 and 5/8. That, again, would be a mixed number, right? Combination of a whole number and a fraction. All right, and that wraps up this video. We're going to go through how to go between improper fractions and mixed numbers because you are able to go between those two forms. So we're going to go through that next time. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe.